I want to welcome everybody here tonight to our first election seminar. I'm Robin Beliveau. I am the training and outreach specialist at the Brunswick County Board of Elections. With me tonight is Ryan Childress, our election logistics specialist. And we also have Sarah Levere, our Board of Elections director. We're excited to be hosting our first seminar in a series of educational forums that will take a deeper dive into specific areas of elections and the voting process. So let's see what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to talk about our state and county board of elections, our Brunswick County Board of Elections staff, the political parties in North Carolina, our types of elections, the Brunswick County municipalities and districts, voter eligibility, how to access voter information, ways to vote in Brunswick County, and then we'll finish off with some upcoming events before we open up the floor to questions from our viewers. For those online, we do have a Q&A box on the bottom of your screen, so feel free at any time to pop a question in there if you're thinking of it. We're not going to answer those questions till the end of the presentation, but we don't want you to lose your train of thought. So that's down there at the bottom of your screen if you're on Zoom with us. All right, so the State Board of Elections, we're governed by the North Carolina State Board of Elections, which is a 5-member bipartisan board that is appointed by the governor at the recommendation of the parties. So the state party chairs of the 2 political parties submit a list of 4 nominees who are affiliated with that political party. The board serves a 4-year term, and no person may serve more than 2 consecutive 4-year terms. The majority is the same party as the governor, so currently we have 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans on the State Board of Elections. In the county, each of our 100 counties in North Carolina has a county board of elections, which is also a 5-member bipartisan board of registered voters in the county. Of the county boards, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats are appointed by the State Board of Elections. The county parties nominate to the state parties registered voters from the local level that they would like to serve on their board. Then the state chairs of each party recommends 3 registered voters to the state board. The state board then chooses 2 members from each party to serve on the county board. The governor directly appoints each county chair. So our current county chair is Boyd Williamson, and he was appointed directly as chairman of the board by the governor. The majority of the county board is also the same party as the governor. Our county boards are appointed to 2-year terms in odd-numbered years. So they were appointed in 2021 and are up for reappointment this year. So our current county board of elections chair is Boyd Williamson. Stuart Smith is the secretary. Paula Clarity, Edward E. Lewis, and Randy Pelton are also members of our county board. Each of the 100 counties also has a county director of elections, and then they have a staff. So there are 100 directors of elections in North Carolina. County directors are appointed by the executive director of the State Board of Elections based on a nomination from the County Board of Elections. The staff size of each elections office is determined by that individual county's needs and can be made up of full-time, part-time, or temporary staff. Brunswick County currently has 6 full-time staff, as well as part-time and temporary staff. So let me introduce you to those full-time staff members. Sarah Levere is the Brunswick County Election Director. She oversees all the operations of the staff. She serves as the Public Information Officer, keeps the county board and general public informed, and ensures county compliance with state laws and legislation. She ensures that our office follows all applicable laws, regulations, policies, and rules to administer elections in Brunswick County. Melissa Monroe is our deputy director. Melissa is our in-person voting specialist. She ensures polling locations are following proper procedures according to the law. She's a resource for the general public and handles inquiries when the director is not available. Melissa oversees the poll worker training program, including designing and developing content for training materials. Adrienne Rushton is our Assistant Deputy Director. She's the absentee by mail point person. She ensures all protocols and procedures are followed regarding mail-in ballots according to the law. She manages the absentee board meetings and the opening of approved ballots. Adrienne also handles candidate filing, including any committee established at a county level, and campaign finance, ensuring compliance with guidelines and laws implemented by the North Carolina State Board of Elections. Adrienne also oversees our MAT program, a multi-partisan assistance team available in every county that is an impartial team appointed by the county board to visit facilities such as nursing homes in order to provide assistance with mail-in absentee voting. Butch Johnson is our elections computer technician. Butch oversees all the voting systems, including the tabulators, ADA machines, and ballots. He conducts logic and accuracy testing with a bipartisan team to ensure equipment compliance and election readiness. He manages the poll books via laptops provided to our precincts to facilitate voter check-in on site during early voting and on election day. Butch also is in charge of geocoding, so ensuring jurisdictions are recorded correctly so voters are provided with their correct ballot. Ryan Childress is our election logistics specialist. Ryan manages warehouse operations and retention of election supplies. He locates and vets polling locations to ensure adequate space, parking, curbside availability, and proper buffer zones. He's in charge of the distribution of precinct supplies, and he also manages the AV for the office. So I'm very thankful for him tonight. Kathy Newland is our registration clerk. Kat is the first point of contact at the Board of Elections. She oversees the voter rolls. So this includes managing all aspects of voter registration, including new voters, pre-registrations of our youth, voter changes or updates, inactive, and removal of voters. She's in charge of list maintenance and is provided with various reports from different agencies to keep our voter rolls updated, including removing deceased voters and voters who have moved. Now, this office also has part-time staff, regular staff, and seasonal temporary staff who assist various departments. So we have a team of specialists that assist Adrienne with absentee by mail voting. These are people specifically trained to handle incoming absentee by mail envelopes and general inquiries regarding absentee by mail. I assist Melissa and act as trainer during election season by educating and training poll workers to work in the precincts. In addition, I manage outreach to our community through social media, events, and working directly with the public in our county schools to educate and inform. We also have temporary staff that assist with the phone or other office duties as needed during various times. And finally, we have our poll workers. So that's last but definitely not least, because we need these poll workers to assist us in administering our elections. We train and utilize anywhere from 300 to 600 poll workers each election season. So we have 4 political parties that are recognized in North Carolina. We have the Democratic Party, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, and the Republican Party. A voter may choose one political party, or they can decide not to register with a political party. If a voter doesn't register with a political party, the voter will be registered as unaffiliated. That's what North Carolina voters are called when they don't register with a political party. Other states sometimes call these voters as independent voters. A primary election requires voters that are affiliated with a specific party to receive the ballot of their party of record. And I'll talk more about primary elections in just a moment. In North Carolina, unaffiliated voters can choose the ballot that they want to vote on, but they can only choose one party's ballot. In general elections, voters can vote for any candidate regardless of the party. And in a municipal election in Brunswick County, those ballots are nonpartisan. Those contests are nonpartisan. So municipal elections in Brunswick County, those ballots will not have candidate party affiliations on the ballot. So let's talk about the different types of elections that we have. The North Carolina State Board of Elections guides counties in the administration of elections across the state. So there are 2 main categories of elections, statewide and municipal. Elections in even-numbered years include offices on the federal, state, and local levels, such as U.S. and state senators, U.S. and state representatives, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general, Supreme Court justice, district attorney, sheriff, and many more. The term length of each office will determine when that office is on the ballot. Municipal elections occur every 2 years, and in Brunswick County, those happen in odd number years. Municipal elections elect governing officials of cities, towns, villages, and special jurisdictions. So a primary election is an election to select candidates from each party that will run for public office. No one is actually elected to office in a primary election. The candidate with the most votes will represent their party on the general election ballot in the fall. The ballot itself will only list the party at the top. The party will not be listed below each candidate's name. In North Carolina, primary elections occur on the Tuesday following the first Monday in March. A primary election is the process by which voters indicate their preference for their party's candidate. And in North Carolina, we're a partially closed primary state. And what that means is that voters affiliated with a party are required to vote the ballot for their party of record. If you're a registered Democrat, you receive a Democratic ballot in the primary. If you're a registered Republican, you receive a Republican ballot in the primary. Unaffiliated voters can choose which ballot they want to vote on, but they can only choose one, either the Democratic, Libertarian, or Republican ballot. Currently, the Green Party is not open to, they have not opened their primaries to unaffiliated voters, so only those registered with the Green Party can vote in a Green Party primary. All registered voters are eligible to vote if their party has a primary, provided the voter meets state residency and registration requirements. A general election is held to choose those that will represent our county, state, or country at a government level. For most offices, only one member of a political party can be on the ballot, and the candidate with the most votes will be elected to office. General elections occur on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November. Voters are selecting candidates for the offices that are up for election on the ballot. The ballot will list each candidate's party affiliation, and voters may choose any candidate regardless of their own party affiliation. Again, all registered voters are eligible to vote in a general election, provided the voter meets state residency and registration requirements. Municipal elections are held to elect governing officials of cities, towns, villages, and special jurisdictions. In Brunswick County, municipal elections occur on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November. We will be administering a municipal election this fall on Tuesday, November 7th. Sample ballots will become available in the fall, no later than 30 days prior to the election. You can go to our website and we have a list of the current elected officials and their terms, so you can see who may be up for election this fall. That page is located under elected officials on the website. We have a menu on the left side. Look for elected officials on the website. Only residents of the municipality may vote in the election, and residents must have lived in the municipality for at least 30 days prior to the election. Generally, voters in unincorporated areas are not eligible to vote unless they are part of a jurisdiction that has a ballot item. The best way to determine if you're eligible to vote in a municipal election is to use the voter lookup tool to see jurisdiction and sample ballots. And this can be done or should be done prior to every election. I'm going to put that link up later on in the presentation, but you can find it on the homepage of our website. Lastly, Brunswick County municipal elections, as I mentioned before, are nonpartisan, so there are no party affiliations listed for the candidates on the ballot. So let's talk about districts. We conduct elections in Brunswick County for 19 municipalities, 2 sanitary districts, and a hospital district. Our municipalities are as follows: Bald Head Island, Belleville, Boiling Spring Lakes, Bolivia, Calabash, Carolina Shores, Caswell Beach, Holden Beach, Leland, Navassa, Northwest, Oak Island, Ocean Isle Beach, Sandy Creek, Charlotte, Southport, St. James, Sunset Beach, and Varnamtown. Our two sanitary districts are H2Go Brunswick Regional Water and Sewer and Southeast Brunswick Sanitary District. Brunswick County also has the last remaining elected hospital board in North Carolina with the Dosher Hospital Board of Trustees. We currently have 27 precincts in Brunswick County. Not all precincts are open in municipal elections, however. So eligible voters whose precinct is not open in a municipal will receive written notification of where they should vote on election day. On a state level, Brunswick County has two districts that elect our North Carolina House of Representatives, the 17th and the 19th district. Voters can only vote for the representative in their district. So we have two precincts that split between the districts 17 and 19. That's Secession 1 and Bolivia. Our website has a link to public information, which includes maps that show the district lines and where those precincts are located. Additionally, if you use the voter lookup tool on our website, you can see a list of all of your jurisdictions, including North Carolina House and municipality. So it will show you if you have a ballot, if you're in an unincorporated area and may not have a ballot this fall. Voters, for voter eligibility to vote in North Carolina, you must be a United States citizen, turn 18 on or before Election Day, and meet residency and registration requirements. In Brunswick County, one of those requirements is that voters must be residents for at least 30 days prior to Election Day. Voters can only register in one place. For voting purposes, you only get one domicile. New voters must register at least 25 days prior to Election Day. However, if they do miss the registration deadline, voters do have an option to participate in same-day registration during our one-stop early voting period. Voters who register during early voting through same-day registration, though, need to vote at early voting if they want to vote in that election. You can certainly register same day and not vote, but if you plan to vote in that election, you must also vote during the early voting period. Those that register for same-day registration are not permitted to vote on Election Day. They must vote at early voting. North Carolina offers our youth the opportunity to pre-register as early as 16 years old. And this is done through the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles when students receive their driver's license, though a teen doesn't have to obtain a license to pre-register. Teens who pre-register will receive a confirmation letter of their pre-registration, which is then followed up by a voter registration card once they become eligible to vote. When a teen is going to be 18 by Election Day, their application may be processed as early as 60 days prior to the primary associated with that general election. 17-year-olds are eligible to vote in a primary as long as they're going to be 18 by the general election day. All right, so how do you access voter information? Well, both the North Carolina State Board of Elections and the Brunswick County Board of Elections have comprehensive websites with voter-specific information. I've put the links up here on the slide deck. This includes deadlines for residency, registration, dates for elections, early voting dates, when absentee by mail ballots become available, and so many more things that you can find there. And new voters have multiple options to register. So they can register through the Department of Motor Vehicles when they are there on site or online. So I'm throwing up kind of what that portal looks like if you go online through the DMV portal. They can also download and print the registration application that's on the county website. The state also has the form on their website. And this application can be mailed or hand delivered to the Brunswick County Board of Elections office. So this is what that form looks like currently. New voters can also register through some social service agencies such as DSS, Veterans Affairs, and Disability Services offices. Registered voters can check their registration online through that North Carolina voter lookup tool. And here's that link I mentioned that I was going to put up earlier. And that's located on both the state and the county website. So that's on the top portion of our website, says voter lookup. You click on that And that's going to take you to this page where you will plug in the required information. And then once you hit that search button, the name will come up. You click on your name and you will be able to see the address that you're registered with, along with the jurisdictions, polling location that you are supposed to go to, a sample ballot for that election if that ballot's available, and it includes your voter history. So that's a great way for you to make sure that your name is correct, your party affiliation is correct, your address is correct. So if you've moved within the county, so that might still be showing up in Brunswick County, but maybe the address is wrong, it can show you the sample ballot that you are going to have for the upcoming election. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see what elections in the area that you have participated in. If registered voters need to update their voter registration, they can make changes to their address, party, or name on their voter registration card, or by downloading and printing that registration application, which can be mailed or brought into the office. And if they want to just change their party or address, then you can use the online DMV portal, that Department of Motor Vehicles portal. You cannot change your name through the DMV portal. That doesn't allow you to do that there. So let's talk about the 3 ways that you can vote in Brunswick County. So the first is absentee by mail. And in North Carolina, voters do not need a reason to vote absentee. But you must request an absentee ballot with an official North Carolina absentee ballot request form. So if you're getting something in the mail that you didn't request, that did not come from our office. Sometimes there are organizations that are encouraging people to vote, and so they're sending out information that may have our address on it. But if you didn't request it from our office, then we did not send that to you. You won't receive an actual absentee ballot without having completed an official North Carolina absentee ballot request form with our office. You can go and vote during early voting. Early voting is available at every election, and voters can vote at any open polling location during the early voting period. Now, I want to be clear, we have 27 precincts, but not all precincts are open during the early voting periods. So you can check our website. We'll also post to our social media channels the sites that will be open during the early voting period, and we do spread those around the county to make those accessible for all of our voters. And of course, you can come in person on election day. We encourage you to go to your assigned precinct. Going to your assigned precinct ensures that you get a ballot that will have all the contests that you're eligible to vote on, and you will receive a ballot that you will be able to put into the tabulator. If you don't go to your assigned precinct, if you're not sure what your assigned precinct is and you show up at one, a poll worker will give you the option of staying and voting a provisional ballot, or giving you the address and location so that you can go to your assigned precinct. And we'll talk more about provisional voting in a future seminar. We also offer accessible voting options for individuals with disabilities or for those who want or need assistance. So I mentioned absentee by mail because that can be an option for voters who need assistance, but curbside voting is something that's also available and at all of our open precincts during the early voting period and on election day. Curbside voting is voting in your car, and it's provided to voters who cannot enter the polling location due to age, mental, or physical disability. Curbside voters are required to sign an affidavit attesting to their eligibility to use curbside. Each polling location also has a Verity Touch, or we also call it an ADA machine, to assist blind or visually impaired voters. It's also a great tool for voters who struggle with completely filling in the boxes on the ballot. As the voter will use a touch screen or a ballot marking device to complete their ballot, and it's then printed with their choices already marked on the ballot, and then they can take that ballot over and insert it into the tabulator. We also offer MAT, or Multi-Partisan Assistance Team, which is a group of persons appointed by the County Board of Elections to provide assistance with mail and absentee voting to voters living at facilities such as nursing homes, if they're in hospitals or clinics, adult care homes, assisted living, that kind of thing. And the makeup of that team includes, at a minimum, 2 people who have different party affiliations or who are not affiliated with a political party. When you request help from Matt, you will receive impartial professional assistance. Their job is to help the voter vote, but the voter's choices still remain confidential. If you have a loved one who's in one of these scenarios, then you can always contact our office and ask us how a Matt team can assist those voters. We also want voters to recognize that if they need assistance, that they can bring someone with them to the polls, providing that the person qualifies under North Carolina voter assistance law. And we can provide that information. We do have that information at our polling locations, and that information is available online. All poll workers take an oath to assist voters as needed and can help voters in any way. So if you're in a polling location and need assistance with anything, any poll worker or Brunswick County Board of Elections staff member is able to assist you with voting. Future seminars are going to delve more deeply into accessible voting and absentee by mail voting as well. So we want you to look out for those. So let's talk about our upcoming seminars, because we're going to be hosting several other educational seminars that are going to provide a more in-depth look into voter-specific topics. So the next one after this is on Wednesday, April 26th, and we're going to do a deep dive into voter registration. This is where you can learn about registering to vote and keeping the voter rolls clean. So some of the things that we're going to talk about in that seminar will be how to register. So if you're new to Brunswick County, or a new voter, how to do that, whether it's online, in person, or by mail. If you're a current voter and need to make changes or updates, we're going to talk to you about how to do that electronically, in person, or by mail. How to actually check your registration record to see if it is up to date and correct. What to do if you move in the county, out of the county, or even out of state. And what are you supposed to do with that voter registration card you get in the mail? And of course, how we keep the voter rolls clean as well. So that's coming up on April 26th. And then June 15th, we're going to delve into accessible voting. So we're going to help you learn about the available options to voters with disabilities and voters who need and want assistance. So we'll talk in more depth about voter assistance. Who can help you, what the laws are against with regards to bringing someone with you to the polls, how can they help you, are children able to assist their parents at the polls, that kind of thing. We'll delve deeper into curbside voting. So what is it? Who can use it? Where do you find it when you go to your polling location? The Verity Touch Writer that I mentioned. So we'll talk more about that ADA equipment that's there for the visually impaired or those with dexterity issues, how to use that, who to talk to when you enter the polling location to get access to that equipment. One-stop early voting. What is it? When is it? Who can vote early? What's offered there? Absentee by mail. We won't delve too deeply into this because we're going to have a specific seminar for that, but we'll talk about what it is and who can use it. Talk more about MAT, that multi-partisan assistance team. More about that, who benefits from that, how can you get in touch with our office to use MAT. And then on July 12th, that's when we're going to do a deeper dive into absentee by mail. So you'll learn the whole process of absentee by mail. What is it? How can you request it? Who can request it? How do you complete the ballot return envelope, because that's really important to ensuring that your ballot's accepted. How to return it. For example, there's additional required paperwork if you are not the person returning your ballot, if you're having somebody return it in person for you. And of course, how the ballots are processed at the Board of Elections. So we'll talk about that as well. In August, we're going to talk about our voting equipment on August 16th. So learning about the equipment that we use in Brunswick County, we'll introduce you to that equipment. We'll talk about the type of testing that's done to ensure accuracy and the security measures that are in place. We always do logic and accuracy testing as we get closer to our elections, and we do invite the public to view that. So hopefully we'll have those dates in place at that time and be able to share that. Thursday, September 21st, I think this is going to be a great one. Prepare to vote. Learn the steps that you can take to ensure that you have a smooth voting experience. So confirming your registration, knowing the deadlines and important dates, learning about same-day registration, finding sample ballots, finding your assigned precincts so you know where to go on election day. We'll talk about provisional ballots. What are they? Why are they so important? And how are they counted? And candidate and party promotion. So what can you wear when you're voting? And how does that factor in if you're an electioneer? All right, and then we're gonna skip a couple months because we're gonna be getting early voting started, and then of course election day. But we're gonna come back in December on the 7th and talk about certifying an election. So you'll learn about the process of certifying an election. What's Canvass? How do we handle voter history? What do we do with those provisional ballots? How do we research those? How is it determined? How are those handled at our Canvass meeting? Sample audit count. So those are the things that we'll talk about at that last seminar. I do want to talk about our first annual Elections Expo that's coming up on Thursday, May 18th. This is an in-person only event. It's an open house. We invite you to come either between 1 and 3 or 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So there's no formal presentation here. It's a great opportunity to meet the Board of Elections team in person. You can talk to Kat at voter registration. If you're not registered, we can show you how to get registered. We can learn how to make changes, understand how the voter rolls are updated, learn more about curbside voting, what the buffer zone is, how that pertains to electioneers, what it means if you're voting curbside and can people approach you or not. You can request an absentee by mail ballot. Learn how to complete that envelope, that return envelope properly. So we're going to show you some envelopes and some mistakes that are commonly made and how to correctly fill out that envelope. We're going to offer you the opportunity to familiarize yourself with that in-person voting process, both at early voting and election day. If you're new to our county, come see what it's all about. We'll show you the steps. Even if you've done it before, maybe you're going to have a new polling location, so you just kind of want to be refamiliarized with the process. And then we're excited to let people get hands-on experience with the voting equipment, including the accessible voting machine and the ballot tabulator. We'll have sample ballots there. There'll be pens that you can mark the ballots. You can see we get questions all the time. Why don't you use a Sharpie? So you'll get kind of an idea about why certain things are done a certain way and why we are using certain pens for our ballots. So, and lastly, really important is that you're going to have an opportunity to learn more about what a municipality is, so you have a better understanding of what you're voting on in the coming election. So, I mentioned poll workers and how important they are to the integrity of and administering our elections, and they are our democracy here. We can't run an election without poll workers. We need them to work in our precincts and help our voters vote. They operate the polls. They provide assistance to voters throughout our 27 precincts during early voting and on election day. We rely on hundreds of poll workers each election to maintain our voting sites. Poll worker orientations, I've listed the upcoming orientations up here on the slide. There are no obligation sessions. You're not obligated to become a poll worker to sign up just by participating in an orientation. But they're provided to interested community members to give them the opportunity to learn the roles, responsibilities, and necessary requirements to be a poll worker in Brunswick County. So we have 5 upcoming in-person sessions here in the Commissioners' Chambers starting next month, with the first one on April 19th at 10 a.m. And Melissa, our Deputy Director, will be here to host those orientation sessions. But I want you to hear a little bit from some of our poll workers, because they really find the experience a positive one. So here's some feedback that we've gotten from some of our long-term poll workers. So Lloyd has been a poll worker since 2018, and he's worked 8 elections. Currently, he's been a machine tech for several, and that's one of our specialist roles. So Lloyd had this to say about being a poll worker. I'm lucky to have the opportunity to be a poll worker and to try to make voting for my neighbors as simple, fast, accurate, and safe as possible. We can all express our opinions by voting in our local and national elections, and poll workers help to make that possible. Nisi has worked as a poll worker since 2017. She's worked in 9 elections and 6 of those as a chief judge. And a chief judge is the one that basically oversees a particular precinct. Nisi had this to say about working as a poll worker. Being a member of a poll team provides me a way to support the democratic process and utilize my strengths, assisting the public, ensuring the steps of voting are smooth, and working with a great group of dedicated people. And Don has been an election worker for around 40 years, starting in Otsego County, New York. Then he was in Pender County, and he's been with Brunswick County as a poll worker since 2014. And Don said that encouraging and helping people to vote is one of the most important things a person can do to help make our community, county, and country a great nation for people to live in. He said it's also fun to learn how to use the election equipment and how to best organize an election. I love that. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We appreciate your time, both in person and online. So this slide has our contact information, including our website and our social media handles. And I encourage you to follow us on any of these sites that you use. We're working on expanding our social media presence to provide accurate and timely information to all of our community. And if you have any questions at any time after this session, you can call us. You can go to our website, and right on the front page, there's a submission form that you can submit your question to us, and we'll get that answered in a timely manner. So at this point, I'm going to open up the floor to see if we have any questions from our audience. And Ryan, do we have any questions from anyone online?
There are no questions online.
Okay. Well, we do have a question. Yes. The microphone. We were going to give you the microphone.
The question is, how many poll workers do you need? When will they be hired? And all of that's going to be answered on those days, right?
Yes, I can talk a little bit about that now. So we need hundreds each election. Even in a municipal election, we need to staff 27 precincts. And those are staffed anywhere between 9 and sometimes 17 poll workers, depending on the size of the precinct. So, and then we staff during early voting too. Usually in a municipal election, I'm not sure, are we planning to have one early voting site open, but we will need poll workers to work that early voting site. But we always train more poll workers than we are expecting to use. And the reason for that is sometimes poll workers have to pull out for various reasons that were not planned. And so then we need people that are already trained that we can fill in. And in particular for this election, we're hoping to train as many as possible because we have a primary and a general election, and it's a presidential election next year. So we want to encourage people to get going now, get the municipal under their belt so that they feel comfortable working in the primary and the general. So to answer your question about when they get hired, we start training in September. So we are one of the counties, I think, that starts training earlier than most in this state. So we often get people that become interested in being a poll worker a little too late when we've already started training. So I love this question. Thank you for asking it. That's why we start scheduling those orientations now. We do require an orientation that poll workers attend an orientation session so they understand what the responsibilities are and what the expectations are of our poll workers. But once they start training, they get paid for training and they get paid for working. So whether they work only election day or they work early voting and election day, they get paid for their time. So did I answer? Did you have any other parts of that question? Great. Wonderful. Any other questions? Anything come up online? All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We hope that you will join us for additional seminars. So as I mentioned, I'm actually going to back up here and put that when our other seminars are So you can mark those down. We're going to be putting this presentation on our YouTube site in the next couple of days, so you should look for that up. And please, follow us on our sites. I also want to mention that if you have a group or an organization that would like somebody from our office to come and speak about general, maybe this introduction or a deeper dive into another topic, that you can reach out to our office. You can do that through the submission form or reach out to our office. We put the phone number up and let us know, and we're happy to do that for you. So thank you, everybody, and good night.